Well, hi there, and welcome back to Intro to Fabrication Part 2. Today, we're going to talk about some of the more basic material types that you're going to be working with and you want to get yourself familiar with. First off, this is flat bar. Now, flat bar is measured by the width and then the thickness. Now, this is quarter by four. You'll use flat bar a lot for making mounting tabs or brackets for attaching pieces to. Let's say if you wanted to build a motor mount and put it on a frame or mount an engine on the snowblower, chances are you're going to be using flat bar because it'll give you a nice surface to mount your pieces. It's easily drilled, it's easily marked out and cut as well. Next, something you're going to see a lot, this is square or rectangular solid stock. Now, I don't have my tape on me right here, but I believe this is 1.5 by 3/4 inch thick. Now, pieces like this you'll see more in railing projects or anything that really needs that old school look because you can heat it up and hammer it and do some other stuff. But stuff like this works really good for gate hinges as well, too. And it comes in all sorts of different sizes, just like your flat stock. The next thing you're going to get yourself familiar with is square tubing. This is 1 by 1, 120 wall square tubing. Now, you'll see this used most commonly in building carts for welders or building gates, building little frames. I mean, the use for this stuff is limitless. It's also relatively easy to drill, or if you have the right tools, you can cut a slot in it. So this is something that you're going to want to buy to build just kind of general things. Now this comes in all different sizes. I mean, you can get it 6 by 6 with 1/2 inch wall. But for just starting out and building little projects around the house or the shop, 1 by 1 is going to be your friend. Even the thinner stuff that's 083 wall. Another more common material you're going to be using is angle iron. Now, angle iron is measured along the legs here. So this is 1.5 by 1.5, and it is 3/16 of an inch thick. So the nice thing about angle iron is if you build yourself a frame, let's say a square frame coming here, you have a flat surface that you can mount a piece of wood to, or even another piece of steel, and you can drill and bolt it, or you can just let it set in there because it can't go anywhere because of the sides. I use angle iron a lot for building frames. It's also good for building frames that would go into like a recessed wall or something like that because you'll have your leg that goes up against, whatever that you can bolt into or you can weld it. And then you have a nice flat surface to mount something else on. Next here, we have round stock. Now this is 1 inch cold roll round stock. Round stock you're going to see in making pins or making slides. A lot of times you can chuck this up in a lathe, which I don't expect anyone who's just starting out on this to have access to. But you can turn it down to different sizes. This is something they use a lot. Also, some smaller diameter stuff I'll use to mount a wheel on, and I'll drill it, put a pin in it, so I can easily maintain, whatever this is going to be a part of. Another piece of material you want to get yourself familiar with is C-channel. Now, C-channel is measured by the width of the channel and then how much it weighs per foot. And I don't have my book on me, but I believe this is 3 by maybe 6. I'm not sure. Approximately 6 pounds a foot. But you'll see here, this is the web, and then these are the flanges. Now, if this looks familiar to you, that is because I-beam is basically 2 of these put together, except it's in one piece and not machined or pressed on its own. C-channel, you're going to see a lot in frames for campers or trailers because you get a pretty good balance of strength of like square tubing, but you don't have to worry about moisture getting into the tube and freezing and cracking, which is common with using square tubing on outdoor things. So a lot of times in railing or gates, you'll see weep holes drilled in the bottom of these, especially if it was capped. And that allows a place for the moisture to go through. Now, on a frame, like a truck frame or a trailer frame, if you have something like this, you get that vertical support, you get the horizontal support, and also things can get kind of piled in here, and it can work its way out. If water gets in here, it's just going to kind of run out, and it won't cause any issues, other than surface rust and things like that. So C-channel is another very popular option for building things out of. Next, we're going to move on to, this is pipe. Now, there is a difference between pipe and tubing, which we'll talk about here in a second. But pipe is measured by the inside diameter and then the wall thickness. So this is 2-inch Schedule 40 pipe, which it's approximately 2 inches on the inside diameter, and it's just under 1/4 inch for the thickness. Now this is important because pipe is usually for transporting air or liquids through it. Gas lines, anything like that. You also see it a lot with building gates or railing or hinges. It is not as tight of a tolerance as, let's say, tubing, which we'll look at now. Now this is 1.5 DOM, which means drawn over mandrel, tubing. Now tubing is different in pipe as you measure the outside. So it is 1.5 inches across the outside diameter, and it has 1/4 inch wall thickness, which means the inside of this is roughly, or very close to, 1 inch diameter. Now why is that important? Well, with a 1 inch diameter and a 1 inch cold roll, in theory, they should fit. And it is very, very close. But when this stuff is manufactured, this is going to be just under 1 inch diameter, and this is going to be just over 1 inch diameter on the OD. Now the reason being is so you can machine these to fit at whatever tolerance you want. DOM you'll see a lot in building suspension links or car parts, things like that. I've also used it for building hinges that would set something like this to be able to rotate and be able to put a grease fitting in here too. This is a piece of cold roll round stock that I cut just to kind of demonstrate how you can use a bunch of different materials to achieve something. So if you needed to cap this tubing, you can cut a sliver of it, and then weld all the way around it to seal it to make a nice cap. Or, if you wanted to, you could take a piece of flat stock, put your round piece on there, trace it out, cut it out, and then you'll have another cap. So where to get materials like this? Well, I don't recommend going to just your regular hardware store because the markup on that is usually very, very high. So if you can find a local steel supplier or a local welding shop, a lot of times you can go in there and ask them for drop. And drop are pieces of material that are left over from cutting. So most of this stuff here, with the exception of DOM, you can get in 20-foot lengths is kind of the normal. So if they only need 15 feet for a project, they might have 5 feet of this left over. And they'll probably save it for later, but you can usually go buy it for a discount rate. So if you're first getting into welding and fabricating, I would definitely go pick up some different pieces of flat bar. I would definitely get some different angle iron. And even like 1x1 is very easy to work with. And in the next episodes, we'll go over how to cut this different stuff. And we'll do a little project so you can see a real world application of some of these materials. I might also include a video later on as I'm building some suspension for my truck where I have a bunch of DOM and links that fit inside of this. That's going to be obviously way more advanced because you're dealing with geometry and also trying to make sure that something is safe. But for beginning, we'll probably build some different frames and whatnot, and we'll go over how to lay stuff out, how to cut it, taking measurements, where to put a bevel, what type of weld to use. And I understand that a lot of you guys watching this, and hopefully, are wanting to get into this industry. So we're going to start at the very basics. I know a lot of guys watching the show might have quite a bit of experience under their belt. And that's okay too, because you never know if you're going to miss something. So this should hopefully conclude episode 2. And I hope you guys stick around for some more stuff, because we'll be doing a bunch of different projects and really trying to get you guys familiar with how to use these materials and how to cut it. And yeah, so if you stuck around to the end of the video, I appreciate that. I really hope you subscribe. I think it's over here somewhere. And yeah, maybe follow me on TikTok. I usually do daily videos on that. And the YouTube part of my channel is going to be a lot more kind of serious stuff. I'm going to try to make it entertaining. I actually took a lot of inspiration from this old Tony. And he's been off YouTube now for quite a few months. And I hope everything is going okay with, whatever he has going on in life. But I'm not trying to rip off how he does his channel by any means, but I really like his videos, and I like how they're laid out. I don't necessarily need to be in it all the time. We're just going to focus on what we're doing. So hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Bye.